Claiming to have walked for 3 weeks to reach Pretoria, these Koisan men want to be officially recognized as the native nation of South Africa. They also want the colored identity to be scrapped and to be identified as the Koisan.
We want government of South Africa to recognize us as the first nation of South Africa. The second demand is we want our language, official language of this country, being the 12th language of this country. The third demand is that we want also this government to scrap the 1913 Land Act Claims Act.
Officials allegedly barred them from entering the union buildings due to their dress code.
We had heavy rain, we had heavy wind. Also on our way to Ventersburg, there was hail for 5 kilometers.
They plan to camp outside the union buildings until they are addressed by the president or...
Dumelang ra la amogela mo go Daily Thetha on SABC 1. Nakalibitso ke na Nicolette wa ga Mashile ngwana wa kwa Bushbuckridge Mapulaneng. Etolo ka matsogo ene ke sesi Fortune wa ga Madlala. Le gone mo ga Daily Thetha we are looking at the plea lisello of the Koisan people. As le di bonele on the insert, there are various demands over the makang. One of them being gore ba gopela gore ba be one of the 12 official languages. Also, the 1913 Lands Act is stopping them from literally being able to go and claim the indigenous land as their own because they were the first people of this country. That's what we're going to be looking at. February 2012, former President Jacob Zuma, we the provisions recognized by the Constitution. We know now that they enacted in the coat of arms, but when will their demands be met? Are we looking at the death of a culture of some of the first people of this country? That's what we're going to be looking at. Daily Thetha. We hope you'll join the conversation using our hashtag Daily Thetha, or you can call us on 011-339-1315. Kini, my brother.
Yeah.
What do you know about the Koisan?
There's so much that we don't know as Koisan, and even the word itself. Is it a correct word that we must be using to refer to them as Koisan? That's what we're going to be finding out. But also, let's welcome our studio audience. Welcome to Daily Thetha. As Nicolette just said as well, what do we know about Koisan people, and why is it that we don't even read about them until Mzansi protested? That's only time we find out what yinile abakhala ngayo. Mam Thembi, let me come to you. Why do you think we don't know much about the Koisan people?
Indlela mina ngiuThembi igama lami. Indlela ngibona ngayo, ngibona ungathi labantu bacindezelekile. Ngoba abantu bokuqala bafika eFan Riebeeck abathola mayefika eCape. Kufanele ngabe ilanguage yabo official and kufanele ngabe yafundiswa ezikoleni ukuthi sikhona communicate nabo. Okwesibili kufanele ngabe kuba TVs kunala bavela khona ilanguage yabo la kuma radio babe ne radio station njengoba AmaZulu ane radio station bonke ama nations nama radio stations. So ngibona ngathi basayilanekile kufanele ngabe ahlonipheka because it seems as if they are real South Africans and they should be respected like all of us.
And if we see Gakurugas on TV, we see dramas in Shivenda as well. isiZulu, isiXhosa, but angicabanga ukuthi angikhumbuli ngibona a drama that talks about Koisan language and Koisan people ezokwazi ukuthi is educate more. But I'm sure namhlanje bazos-educate Nicolette and tell us ezinye zezinto nama stereotypes that we have about Koisan people.
I think maybe now what happened, especially post 1994 when the new government in South Africa came into play. What really happened? Why did the Koisan people get left behind, Sis Letitia?
Thank you. Letitia Timas Peterson. Why we were left behind was probably because we were, during the apartheid years, we were being classified as so-called colored people. Okay. And I've got, my grandfather has got an ID where he was classified as a Hottentot. Sure. And that was also a derogatory term. But post 1994, people were afraid to come out and say who they were because we were being victimized. But luckily, I come from a background where we were exposed by, the Nama, the Bushman culture from a young age. Even my name, Timas, I've been called Timas from a young age. From my maternal grandparents gave me that name, which means my mother or mother's own.
Sis Letitia, can I ask you a question? If today somebody were to ask you who are the Koisan, can you give us a better understanding of Libomang?
Okay, who the Koisan
just hold the mic
is
closer.
that we were clumped together. We different groups and clans and family clans. The San has got their own groups and clans. They've got the Kor, the Komani, the Khekhui, the Kwe. You can find the Krikwa, the Nama, the Kora. But because we were clumped together in 1928 by a German explorer, Schultz.
Yes.
He said the Koisan people, we were different tribes with different languages, clumped as one.
To make the Koisan.
Yeah, and what the similarities that we had was our click language. And then this government, they took the term Koisan, and because it was convenient for them to use the term Koisan, but it's an artificial term.
Okay, and I think that's what we're trying to understand. Convenience, what type of repercussions did it have post-1994? And then here's that we need to find out as well and understand is that there is this reverse racism that I think it exists in a Koisan family, but I want to find out from Andrew as well, Guti, what do they think? Because sometimes they don't feel like they belong to the white or the black, but where do you guys find yourself belonging into?
Well, excellent question. My name is Bevan Shelton. It's important to know that when you speak about reverse racism, and it being prevalent in our country, you spot on. But now the racism is not as pronounced as it was before 94.
What do you call it now?
I call it reverse racism or institutionalized racism.
I see.
Because we are still faced with a South Africa where we still have to fill in on the official forms what race you are, black, white, colored, Indian. Yet we are made to understand that the so-called colored falls in, and as well as the Indian falls in under black. But now, behind closed doors, that is where the actual apartheid goes on. Because what happens is, we fought for this freedom just as much as everybody else did, all right? But we don't get that recognition today.
But Bevan, let me come to you. The fact that maybe you have a surname that you call it an English surname, it puts you in the background?
Big time. Because at the end of the day, what happens is, if my application form lands at on any person's desk who does the decision making regarding the future of my business or whatever it is that I endeavor to do, that person will see my surname. Push that form one side and wait until Kumalo or Dimkulu comes past. This sounds African. You understand? Because Bevan Shelton may just be a white guy and I don't want to empower him. So for the world, they say, yes, there's no apartheid. But institutionalized is where the racism takes place. Let
me quickly come to the new generation right now. My brother, do you think that the culture, the Koisan culture is dying, or it's something that you don't want to associate yourself with?
Well, I would say that the Koisan culture is not dying. It's always there. It has always been there. But it's the mere fact that we have a government that has brutally pushed this identity that the Koisan culture doesn't exist, and more so the effect that it has on youth. You have youth who are told what they ought to be like.
Speaking about that, your official language is not recognized in South Africa. How does that make you feel as a young person?
Well, as a young person, for me not to know my identity, especially on the basis of my language, and for other cultures, we have 11 official languages. And our identity, our language itself isn't being recognized. It puts me at the place where I'm seeking, I'm wondering, who am I? What is my identity? And most of the youth that I've spoken to have relied to things like drugs as their identity, has imposed upon teenage pregnancy as their identity. And how can that become our identity?
Do you even speak your own language?
No, I don't, because of the mere fact that our government has not given us the resources, first of all, to teach our youth the language that we're supposed to learn, and hasn't gone to instill the culture that we have.
Okay, so Kuluma, that must be a breaking. Just to find out from the Koisan family, with Makabanganjani, easy pleasant abafisa to government, angazenzela bona because namanje kusene khalo eini. Asa menso koke itolo sebu after this. Welcome back to Daily Thetha. Sakuluma about the Koisan family. We want to find out exactly who they are. Nanoguti yini abafuna usifundisa yona namhlanje on Daily Thetha. We do have the Chief Stanley Peterson. Welcome to Daily Thetha.
Thank you.
As well as Dr. Martin.
Thank you very much.
Let's just jump straight into it. It seems as if there's a bit of confusion between the Khoi and the San, especially from us, because we just know the Koisans. Why hasn't that been ratified even in what we read on papers? Dr. Martin.
Should I take it?
Please.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I think you've got to look at issues relatively.
Yeah.
The Khoi and San have been in Southern Africa for thousands of years. And the emphasis is on thousands of years. Now, in terms of whatever distinction or difference there should be, we've got to look at it linguistically.
Okay.
Both belong to the same linguistic African language group. So at bottom, there is no fundamental difference in terms of the cultural perceptions, ways of being between the Khoi and the San.
But then again, let me come, because I don't want to offend. I want to find out the politically correct word, because I've seen when an incident when they were actually protesting, they said they don't even want to be called colored people.
Yes.
Is it politically correct if I say you are a Koisan?
No, first of all, it's bad science. There is no such thing as a colored person. Everyone has color, including white people. This is a term that comes from India when the Africoid people were conquered by the Persians.
I see.
And the offspring were not entitled to any connection to the land or to the structure that was created. The term was mala. From mala, it went to mulatto by the Spanish. And the Spanish brought it to the Anglo-Saxons, the British, and they introduced the term colored to South Africa. Those that had been conquered and removed from the land or removed from any connection to the structure under which they were enslaved. That is how the term colored came about. It has no African root. There's no etymology for colored in any African language. These are the terms that were brought by the conquerors in terms of people who had created a new structure. And the modern term is modernity, you know. But in terms of science, it is bad science. There is no such thing as colored. It's an ideological creation of white settlement, white imposition, and white domination.
Okay. Perhaps, Chief Stanley, you can take us a few years back, not a few, a whole lot of years back. Are the Koisan people the first people of South Africa?
First of all, Madisa, Koinkia, Gangans, that is our language. We have a language, although people said we haven't got a language. It has not been recognized. Look, I'm here sitting in Gauteng. Gauteng was established in 1886. Pretoria was established in 1885. It was found.
Yes.
We were not found. We were here. Since the 1200s, the 1300s, when we talk about the first war of resistance of the Almeida in 1501, it was the first war of resistance of a country. And today we're nothing. We fought wars as traditional and chiefs, but we're nobody. When Jan van Riebeeck came here, he found us here. When Bartholomeus in 1447 came here, he found us here. So how can we, as the first people of South Africa, I had to talk about a colored. Before 1994, there was only 9 acts that governed South Africa. Before 1948.
Yes.
In 1950, they add another act, Act number 30. Act number 30 said all Namas, all Koranas, all Khoikois, all Sens, and all Khoika, those are the 5 main groupings of the Koisan. They are now colored people, a nation yet to be. In 1991, every de Klerk scrapped the colored.
Yes.
So remember now, they've been made the act in 1930,
yes.
the Racial and Population Classification Act. In 1991, they scrapped it. Yes. So what are colored now?
That means there's nothing.
There's nothing. You've got no language. Can you talk? Can anybody talk colored language?
No.
Colored have no land. That's why they strip us to be in Koisan, because they knew one day we'll rise.
So post 1991, do you now get re-established as Koisan?
Well, the question is, what is the purpose of having reinscribed colored?
Yes.
After the constitutional negotiations.
Yes.
The question is, it is a colonial purpose. Now, I think it's very important to understand, because I think there's confusion in the country This is not new, that this term has been contested.
Yes.
We can go back in time, you know. The issue of reclaiming the term Koikoi or Koisan has to do with a long overdue assertion that the Khoi and San have always been here in this part of Africa.
Then if you look at the history that we have in South Africa, you'll find that the Zulus and the Xhosas and also the Tswanas, there have been fights that were happening that we read about. Why all these years we haven't found out that there's a history of Khoisans with the Zulus or the Xhosas or the Tswanas? Were they living peacefully back then?
Well, look at the cosmology of the Khoisan. The cosmology, the way of being, having a self in relation to others, was not that of eliminating other human beings. It is very important to understand, even anthropologists who have investigated this will tell you that this is a culture that was at peace with its ecological environment, at peace even with God's creatures. Now, you have a different element coming in, and we can go into history. The element that came in here was twofold. The change in the method of production, the development of crops, the demand for land, and migration. Now, it's within that context the relations between the Khoi, San, and other people began to change. Colonization is like somebody bursting through your door, not only taking the door, but taking you. And the relations changed. So it's very important to understand that the Khoi and San had a way of being, had a self that was understood by other African peoples, of that of coexistence and actually development in between or with one another. It has been a strong relational culture. This was brought to an end by colonization.
Okay, let's actually go talk about the
Just
chief.
to add something to what you said is, I posted a question on Facebook the other day. To be an African, do you need to be black, white, or colored? Because we're all indigenous to Africa.
Yes.
So why must we fight? Every time when the Koisan is rise, they must be fight.
Yeah.
And we're all Africans.
But let's maybe perhaps talk about the population dynamics. Obviously there must have been, issues of colonizers coming in. We hear about smallpox wiping out the Khoisan. Is that attributed to why there's perhaps little numbers of Khoisan people?
You see, there are myths, and again, it's bad science. If you go to New Zealand, the descendants of the original New Zealanders, they are there. The Maoris.
Yes, the Maoris.
If you go to Australia, the same. Now, why should South Africa be different? Yes, the medical warfare against the Khoisan did reduce it, but since when are there no descendants of a people? This notion that colors came out of nowhere is one of the worst scientific myths of South Africa. Over 70% scientifically proven by the genome of the Khoisan descendants are the people who are classified colored.
Today.
The Khoisan are alive. The question is the myths and the conditioning of people to see this notion of colored as just having come out of nowhere. The coloreds.
So, Dr. Martin, what you're essentially saying is that there might be colored people who call themselves colored right now that have some bloodline of being Khoisan.
Absolutely, not
they
some.
They don't know.
Not some. The overwhelming majority are descendants of the Khoisan.
Oh, and they don't know.
They don't know. Look at the nature of the system and the structure of education we've had that has been enduring since colonization.
I think at home you can give us a call if you feel good the conversation now, it's 011-339-1315. And also you're going to be checking your comments just to find out kuti abantu bathini about this. We did read that social media, but so besifunda nje amanye uma sibuya ebreakini.
The Traditional and Koisan Leadership Bill was processed by the Portfolio Committee of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs. Prior to this bill, there has never been statutory recognition of the indigenous people of South Africa, the Koisan.
It is trusted that this amendment bill will also ensure more effective participation of traditional and Koisan leaders in municipal council proceedings. As far as the Koisan is concerned, the bill is of historic value.
The bill gives Koisan leaders the same recognition as other traditional leaders. It provides for them to be office bearers and recognizes the roles of headmen and headwomen. However, not all members of the Koisan community are satisfied. They say they weren't properly consulted and have accused government of not giving them enough recognition.
Our main objective is to have a place in the sun. Yes, the ANC is governing this country, but we want our rightful place in the sun as indigenous peoples of this country. And this bill is not doing justice to our community at large.
This bill wants to know who are you? Who are you? And it wants to define you and it wants to define your role. But looking at our culture, it doesn't enhance our culture.
They also don't want to be included in the same bill as other traditional leaders, believing they should have their own.
Welcome back to Daily Thetha. If you have just joined us, as South Africa is the first indigenous people in the country. How come we are not recognizing them as a country? And we're carrying on with our conversation with Anthony Williams, who's the CEO of Indigenous First Nation Advocacy South Africa, IFNASA. Welcome to Daily Thetha.
Welcome, thanks.
I saw you do this when Des van Rooyen came up to speak about the bill. What's that about?
Well, Des van Rooyen and the entire ANC don't know what they're talking about.
Okay.
You can't say that you're going to recognize the people and then you come with a bill that you've pre-designed, you know, and then you say, no, let's participate in a, and that's been the process from the beginning. We rejected it from the beginning, that you cannot come to us and tell us how you are going to govern us without consulting us.
So there was no consultation?
There was no, the consultation that came about was when the bill was drafted already. That bill is a cut and paste thing. You must go read the bill. This bill is I mean, it's a demonic piece of document, you know, it's not even worth the paper that it's written on.
Sure.
I'll tell you one thing that's wrong in that bill, just one, and there's a number of them. This bill wants the Koisan people to submit to the premier of a province, but the so-called Nguni Bantu people must submit to the president. I mean, are you crazy in your mind, you know? You can't have those...
So this is what, you put provincially and not nationally?
Absolutely, but besides that, you can't come and prescribe to an Aboriginal people, you know, how they govern themselves. Aboriginal people, you have to come and you've got to sit next to us, and we govern. We co-governors, you know. These guys can't come and just run this thing as they want to. You can't have a situation like this. This is utter nonsense. It's lawlessness. So we reject the bill, you know, in its entirety with the contempt that it deserves. This bill is not good for our people.
Okay.
Anthony, let me come to you. Let's look at the issues that we have now. We're currently having as South Africa. We're looking at the access to RDPs and access to opportunities as well, and also better education. What is your current struggle right now as a Koisan family?
The first one is that we continue we are paraded as coloureds, and because we are coloureds, we are left behind, and this is the notion that's going on here. And then it's a very, very unfortunate situation that people say that coloured people were beneficiaries with white people. And because we were beneficiaries of white people, therefore we must be punished and we must not get opportunities. So therefore we are on the periphery, we're left outside, we're just sitting there as stooges, and while everybody is having fun, you know, in the center of the game, you know, and we also, we are cognizant of the fact that the majority of the so-called black people in this country are left behind. We are cognizant of that. You know, they're this group of cabal of so-called black people there, which is the middle class, who are sitting and having fun, while the rest of the people on the ground, you know, are fighting amongst one another for the scraps, while they keep on taking all the big contracts away from us. So, but we are being punished simply because we are told that we were beneficiaries of the past.
Let me the microphone up to Chief Tybus. I want to find out from you, Guti. Do you feel like that, Guti? Maybe people feel like you guys benefited during apartheid areas, so right now when mostly bad people have to eat the benefit of their struggle, you are being left behind.
I definitely agree with what Anthony has said. Yeah. It's not a secret that we are being punished. We are definitely being punished. All right, and
punished by government, you say?
Yeah. Punished by government.
Okay.
You know, remember post 1994, we were all supposed to be colored, whites, Indians. No, sorry, colored, Indians, Chinese. Yeah. All right, all supposed to be classified black. Yeah. All right, but in this very same government that has passed that law, all right, if you go look at the application forms for jobs, for business, for you have they are discriminating between the three anyway. You're either black, you're white, you're colored, you're Indian, or you're Chinese. Yeah. All right? And let me put it this way to you. If you look at bursaries, university bursaries, all right, by government for students, all right, if you look at 100 bursaries made available for medical students, all right, out of that 100, you will have one colored person getting a bursary.
But Chief, let me...
And this is proven.
Can I come in here? Didn't you guys benefited during the apartheid areas?
When you say benefited, the tricameral system, all right, was a system imposed on us by the apartheid government. They knew what they were doing. They were clever. They wanted to create this distinction between black, Indian, and white. All right, they knew exactly what they were doing, but we weren't benefiting. If we were benefiting, go into a colored township now, my friend, and go and have a look what is benefiting. Do you know that in the last 20 years, there was not one single housing development, all right, for colored people?
Yeah. Maybe let's speak to Bevan just for 2 seconds. Bevan, are the Koisan people are they desperate to be recognized? Are you begging to be recognized?
Look, we're not desperate. Okay. Desperate we're not. I mean, you can't argue what is there. It's a fact that we are the first indigenous people of this country. Why must we fight in a post-apartheid South Africa for an identity? That should have been dealt with even before CODESA. Yes. Because at the end of the day now, we are being fed a system that we don't subscribe to. Everything is forced upon us as a people. Our people are excluded on every front. One question, I'm sitting on SABC right now. Where are the so-called colored actors in Isidingo? Where are the so-called coloreds that were present in your generations? Our people are being marginalized to the point of being excluded. Look at sports. I can give you so many examples. The point is, we are saying to South Africa, you ought to fall in line with what the United Nations put there in their resolution 435. Acknowledge us as the first indigenous people and make the necessary amends and the necessary restitution that needs to be made.
Before we go to Dr. Martin, do you see yourself as a colored person?
The colored term is derogatory. Yeah. However, look at the contradiction in terms that I'm putting on the table as an oxymoron. I'm sitting here on behalf of the Colored Foundation, KULLID. That is how we coined the term. It is basically a way of saying, you calling us coloreds after a 1994 dispensation. We will coin this term so that you're not confused as who is actually talking to you. When we are protesting, we are Koisan. We are from the indigenous peoples of this country. We know who we are. But we're saying to this government, you decided to keep us colored after we fought against this evil term and an evil regime that it represented back in the day.
Let's bring in Dr. Martin. You're saying you are taking over the term of colored. You are owning up to it. You're calling it evil at the same time. Are you then not confusing the rest of us? Because we are sitting here saying, okay, what do we call you?
Yeah. You see, it's the same question that you need to pose to yourself.
Yes.
When you call yourself black, do you know where that comes from? Yes.
Obviously,
this term, black, emerged out of the conflict between Europeans in Europe and was brought to Africa.
Okay.
You know the term one drop of black blood makes you black?
Makes you black. Everybody, yeah. Everybody's
Yes.
black.
That's spread across Africa.
Okay.
You know, but it is not from Africa. You know.
But what do we call
Now
you?
let's come back to the issue of colored.
Yes.
The term colored is a functional ideological term to sever, to remove,
identity,
to disempower, structurally and culturally.
Yes.
Now, if that term could be applied to black people, they would say, no, we are black, but that term comes from Europe.
Yes.
Likewise with the term colored.
Yes.
And that is why we reject it. It is not to cause confusion.
Okay.
But it is to clarify and explain. Africa is bedeviled by terms of identity that have caused wars and that have caused, untold pain, you know. Now, this is the issue we have to confront.
Just hold it there for me, Dr. Martin. We just quickly need to go for an ad break. When we come back, we carry on with confusion and we're busting some of the myths that we've been hearing about the Koisan people. Please do stay with us.
Welcome back to Daily Thetha. Bafethu sakhuluma about the Koisan family. We want to find out from them. If it's Kuluma with the Koisan family, ngabe asenzi justice if you're not talking about the land, because this is a community ngempela that has been fighting ukuthi babuyisele umhlaba. Back on the couch, I do have Arola Jacobs from Gauteng. Welcome to Daily Thetha, as well as AGAROB AFRIKANER from Nama, Northern Cape. Welcome to Daily Thetha.
Thank you.
Let's quickly check on social media. There's Angela Khatane Uta. I'm a Koisan by birth, and I think it's high time that my people are being recognized in South Africa. We made history, not still fighting to reclaim our rightful place. I'm from Nahua tribe, and it's time that we embrace our culture. Who are we? Remember, we are the ones who used to drawing on the rocks, living and desert. Actually, we have a great history. We're talking about that as well. Let's quickly come in, guys, to the issue of the land. You guys are saying that when everybody's talking about this redistribution of land, it seems as if you are just being put aside.
You see,
yes.
It's important that you want to go first.
Yes, I need to go first. Yeah, I'm begging to go first. I'm fired up. Yes, I'm from the Koisan Revolution movement from Gauteng. I'm so fired up. Now the other day, Julius Malema made a very important statement, and which seems that it's just been blown away, which he has said it so many times that this land belongs to the Koisan. Now, the discussions around this land issue is over the heads, as if we as a nation don't exist. They are talking about land issues, and they have summits about land issues, but we are not inclusive. I just got one thing to say. This is going to lead to problems.
What problems?
It's going to lead to big problems. Like? Very, 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 very big problems.
Like fighting?
Revolutionary problems. Yes. So and the Koisan's not going to sit back and look as if they don't exist. We're not. We are at that point now.
Be specific to me.
Are you saying specific? We will take up our bows and our arrows.
Nice.
That's what we'll do. Okay. Yes, we'll take out our bow and our arrows, and we will fight for our land. This is our land.
But what has been, and maybe that the Afrikaner can come in, what has been blocking you guys from putting in claims of your land back? Is it the 1913 Act?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for the time. Absolutely. You see, here we are sitting today. En ek moet Engels praat, man. Engels praat, man. Yeah. But first I need to greet you in my language. Madita. Titara kwa. Asking khabapa. Ngawratsa. This is our language. This is who we are. We cannot be separated from the land. You cannot separate the first indigenous people, the aboriginals. You cannot separate us from the land because we are the land. And the land.
Tell us about the land that Cape Town Airport has been built on.
Yeah, you see, before we go there, let's talk about the Constitution, in particular Section 25, subsection 7, because that's the devil in the room, right? This particular piece of legislation is where it all went wrong. Now, how the ANC government could, you know, come to a place where they agreed with the colonialists, you know, to keep the Koisan people outside of it is just beyond us. You know, with the impressive struggle credentials that the ANC comes with, that they would agree to something called 1913 and says that nothing happened before 1913. What is not known, you heard Chief Stanley talked about it earlier on, at places like your St. Helena and Mossel Bay, where some of the first fights were fought. And now we know that it's from the 1400s, the late 1400s, but in particular 1510, where the very first wars were fought for land. And then you come and you tell us that we are keeping you outside land that was lost before 1913, you have got no claim to it. It doesn't make sense, you know. It's a very clear, orchestrated design plan to keep the Khoi and the San people outside, and the ANC government, including Nelson Mandela, is complicit in the fraud that is currently happening in what is called South Africa.
Right. Okay, Anthony, I'm going to go to the caller, but before I go to the caller, let me come to Bevan. Just a quick one. We have airports right now that are named by our struggle heroes and cities and everything. Why we don't see anything named after a Koisan?
It is orchestrated. It is a communication out to the world that the people of the Koisan and their descendants were not part of the struggle.
Yeah.
It is,
were you part of the struggle?
Man, my credentials are probably longer as tall as you are. The point is, I was president of SRC's tertiary institutions in South Africa so I contributed to the struggle. I didn't hear about it, I lived it. The point is, we have so many struggle heroes that are being excluded out of core events in our struggle. One, you talk about the Women's March, you hear about Lillian Ngoyi, you hear Mama Sisulu. And then I asked the question, where is Aunt Florie Daniels, who were part of the organizing committee? These youths don't know who Florie Daniels is. She died and the ANC never acknowledged her accordingly. Leon Meyer was an ANC general of Umkhonto weSizwe. He was killed in a cross-border raid in 1984 by the Kok death squad. His bones are still in Lesotho, and they're not making a noise about repatriating his bones to his final resting place in East London. Cliffy Brown blew up Engen oil refinery in Durban. Nothing is being named after our people, clearly to show that colored people per se was never part of the struggle.
Bevan, we've got somebody on the line.
We have to quickly,
let's speak to THANIA SHUETE from XKFM. Hello. THANIA.
THANIA, welcome to Daily Thetha. Hello, THANIA.
Okay, let's perhaps come back and find out. We've got, in the Zulu community, you guys have Shaka Zulu, we've got King Mushweshwe.
You guys, you mean me? And
yes, you and the Zulu. Who is it David Stearman? Who's your hero?
There's a number of them. You could talk about David Kruiper, for argument's sake. You can talk about David Stearman. You could talk about Kratoa.
But why we don't see those people?
You could talk about Sarah Bartman, right? But you know, it's not mentioned. Now they want to name Cape Town International after Nelson Mandela again. Are they serious? And Winnie Mandela, are they really serious? Again? I mean, must everything around here be Nelson Mandela, Winnie Mandela?
We're never going to know where we're going.
I mean, we're not going to go. I mean, it doesn't make sense. It's crazy, you know. But it's not that we, for 1 second, are not acknowledging, you know, the important work of Nelson Mandela. So people must not misconstrue.
We have King Shaga Airport in KZN.
Exactly, you know, and we left it at that because the majority of the people in KZN is represented by the Zulu people. So it makes sense there. You understand? Now you want to make Winnie Mandela did nothing in Cape Town.
Anthony,
so why would we want to make it Winnie Mandela or Nelson Mandela?
Anthony,
not going to.
Whose responsibility is it to keep your history alive?
It's our responsibility at the end of the day. But I'll tell you what's happening, and you keep on hearing that. There's a very clear program to exclude us and to keep us, us ignorant. And that's why the majority of the so-called colored people out there are sitting under this false identity and this false concept and this false notions. And it's for as long as they can keep us outside there and keep our history out of the history books. Our people don't know who they are. So it's our responsibility. That's why we are sitting here. All these activists around here are sitting. We are equally, it doesn't matter whether they call themselves by name, colored or whatever. We are the collective.
Okay,
leadership of this community is our responsibility, and we're taking it.
Yes, let's take this responsibility. We're going to go for a quick ad break. When we come back, we carry on with our conversation. Welcome back to Daily Thetha. And we're with the Koisan community and want to get to understand now. We do have THANIA SHUETE from XKFM on the line. Hello, THANIA. How are you, THANIA?
I'm fine.
Welcome to Daily Thetha.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about being in the media space as a Koisan community member and what opportunities are actually available to you. THANIA, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but...
Okay, THANIA, we'll come back to you. Let's welcome ELVIRA DeLange on our couch. ELVIRA, perhaps you can maybe get into the conversation around the issues that women, Koisan women, face in the today, in 2018. What are some of those?
Oh, thank you very much for having us over here. Many of the issues that we face as Koisan women is many times we're not really recognized. We always we're facing very difficult battles getting into. First and foremost, we are fighting.
Let me perhaps maybe rephrase it for you. Okay. We always hear it's the time for young black women. You are like the right person for government right now. Are you guys also welcomed with the same arms as being Koisan community?
No, we are not. Most of the time we are not, because as a Koisan woman, we fight in our own battles. We have difficult times getting into jobs. We have difficult times for opportunities, difficulty in all areas, do you see? So
Bevan earlier on spoke about, you know, where they give you like the gender, not the gender, the racial classification. They will say black, white, colored. Are you guys still feeling that you have to mark under colored, or do you mark under black? Which one? Because obviously you're not being accommodated.
Okay, I'm one of the people that I do not mark under colored.
Okay.
I mark under other, because I am other. I do not want to be classified as a colored person. Before 1950, there was no such a thing as a colored. Before then, we were either Koisan, we were Nama, we were all different kind of races, and so for me, I would rather want to be called a bushman. Call me a bushman, call me Nama, call me Koi, or call me San, but do not call me colored. That is, I'm one of those people.
All right, it's very interesting. Coming back to you, Kini.
Let me just quickly come to Ujeri on this side. Ujeri, want to find out the identification, your corner, identity. What's your question, Jerry?
My question is that because I can see the whole issues around the identity to the to the Koisan people. Will you be happy if the government can recognize you in terms in the media and also your language and bring more education and also to put you to be your language to be on 12 official languages? And also one question is that what other steps the government took since you went to the government union building? Is anything at the process maybe we want people to know? Is any action they took now?
Maybe Chief Tybos can answer that, and also just clarify the issue of airport, because you wanted to say something about it.
Just to go back to the union buildings, all right? We are not aware of anything that happened since. Nothing. All right? And the people that marched to the union buildings, that camped out there, we are in daily conversation with them. So if anything happened from the presidency, we are not aware of that. All right? In terms of the government recognizing us in the media means nothing, my friend. When you recognize me as the first Aboriginal nation of this country. Now, when you talk recognition, you talk land.
But what is the fear of
recognition without land means nothing. All right? This land, and as the lady said, call me a bush, roep me a bushman. People used to think that I will never get upset if you call me a bushman, but don't call me a colored. So this bush, this land, all right, you cannot reclassify me Koisan now and not talk about land to me first.
Okay. And then,
All right.
Chief, a quick one. You had an issue with the airport?
On the airport,
Yeah.
you know, this is not even political, my friend. This is about the truth.
Yeah.
This is about justice.
Yeah.
You know, I like to think I'm apolitical. All right, and I've tried to remain that way. Or I used to be in the struggle, but it bought me nothing. All right, my own cadres in the ANC today, all right, closing the door in my face today.
Why? Because you're colored?
Well, I don't know why. I must be honest with you. People that I worked with, people that I created wealth with, for them, all right, today, they're closing the doors in my faces.
But Chief, can you be honest in saying that maybe you feel just because you're colored, that's why you're excluded?
Oh, definitely. Definitely, just because I colored. But I don't want to go off the point. I don't want to go off the airport point.
Okay.
You know, the airport point is so critical. All right? It's about history. It's about the truth. All right? It's not political. I respect Mama Winnie Mandela. She went through hell, that woman, in the struggle. I've got the utmost respect for her. She went through hell. But the renaming of the airport in Cape Town, I think government needs to realize that the Koisan people are rising now. This is the start of the uprising of the Koisan people. They have to face it. All right? I can tell you that, and I'm not hiding it. We are busy planning every day, every hour of the day. We are trying to unite our people. And we have to come together as a Koisan nation. And then, as one nation, in unison, all right, we will prove to this government what the Koisan people are about.
Perhaps maybe just to close off the show, that the Errol that the Afrikaner, you can tell us what is it that you are uprising for?
I'm looking at Vlakfontein at this time now, and I'm thinking now, the atrocities and the wrongs which government are doing to our people. They move us from our rightful place to a community to control us. If we take El Dorado Park, for instance, and one of the leaders said just now, that not one house was built in El Dorado Park since then yet. There is lots of backyard dwellers. But yet, if you look at other areas next to El Dorado Park, they are building houses. It's a clear indication of government pushing us one side. And we are tired of being pushed one side. We are getting fed up of, you can now lock me up and target me, I don't care. My thing is our people, they are not busy, but they are rising up. They are rising up. And my call to our people, especially the Koiana sons, is get in contact with us so that we can mobilize and see where we're getting, how far we can get with this.
And nice Kati, we need to go. And if you are a Koisan Muntu and want to understand the language as well, you can find all the games of the World Cup on XKFM in Koisan language. They're going to be broadcast from LANGE.
And I think another win for them is that there are 2 schools in the Northern Cape which have now included the Koisan language in their curricula. But thank you very much for tuning into Daily Thetha. It's been an absolutely amazing show. Rajiva, better people.
Cool, siyabonga.